The big problem for humans is that our complex immune systems instantly reject organs which contain DNA other than our own. This is why heart transplant patients have to remain on powerful immunosuppressant drugs. The only way to obtain stem cells containing purely our own genes is to make a cloned embryo. To achieve this, a human egg is stripped of its own nucleus and a new nucleus is inserted. It could come from any cell in the body. An electric shock fuses the two together and starts cell division. A cloned embryo is created. And Dr. Robert Lanza is one man doing just this. Here at ACT Biotech in Worcester, Massachusetts, they are attempting to bring an embryo to a stage where its stem cells can be harvested.
We've used the cloning technology to actually generate early-stage human embryos that are at the 4 to 8 cell stage, to go from the early-stage embryo to a blastocyst, which is a cell cluster of about 100 cells. It requires fine-tuning the culture conditions as well as each step in the cloning procedure.
Robert Lanza is encouraged by his research with cloned embryos from our nearest relatives, the primates. Here they've reached the crucial blastocyst stage, 100 to 200 cells where the stem cells can be harvested. He believes the applications are wide-ranging.
We already know, for instance, how to turn embryonic stem cells into whole dishes full of dopamine-producing cells that could be used to treat, for instance, a patient with Parkinson's disease. By adding something known as retinoic acid, we can turn these embryonic stem cells into beating heart cells. We've also already seeded those heart cells onto various synthetic scaffolds to create what we call myocardial patches so that we can fix the heart very much like you would fix a bicycle tire.
Success with primates has encouraged Robert Lanza in his ambition to create whole human organs from cloned embryonic stem cells.
To create an entire heart, that's the holy grail. That's a very complicated procedure, and that's probably a good 10, 15 years off.
Although a while off, it all sounds very promising. But there's a price to pay. When an embryo is harvested for its stem cells, it is destroyed in the process. The end of a potential life. The issue of whether this tiny ball of cells has the same rights as the rest of us is proving so controversial, many people think the research should be banned. Our poll shows while in Brazil and Turkey, 2 out of 3 people believed it should be outlawed, in the USA, 2 out of 5 think this. In the UK, half think it should be banned. The right-to-life issues are so complex, the world is divided on whether stem cell research with cloned embryos should go forward. Great Britain still allows research into embryonic stem cells up to a 14-day limit. Health ministers in Australia can't reach a consensus on the issue. Singapore has appointed a panel of experts to study the ethical question of using embryonic stem cells, and there is no law at all regulating stem cell research in Israel. The United States has banned the use of taxpayers' money in embryonic stem cell research, and political pressure is building to ban it altogether.
Fortunately, it hasn't stopped there because stem cell research is so important that many private bodies are funding it and many European governments are funding it. So unless you've got a universal revulsion against some kind of research, it will tend to go on. And the stuff that works, you can rest assured the law will accommodate it without turning a hair.
And when that happens, the most difficult choice you may have is whether to order your new organs online or from some salesman who knocks at your door.
Good morning to you, sir. Can I have a moment of your time, please?
Not interested in anything you're selling.
Yes, sir, please. All I ask is 1 minute, and I can make you an offer your body cannot refuse. How old are you, sir, if you don't mind me asking?
40.
Do you know that when you're 40, your liver is not as efficient as it used to be when you were 18? And your heart is starting to fail too.
Yeah, so?
How about a new heart?
The therapeutic cloning research, which tries to grow human tissues with the hope of replacing, let's say, damaged heart tissue, could, I'm sure, be abused. But 20 years from now, the notion that you should not use stem cells because the cells were taken perhaps from an egg that was fertilized and not implanted in an IVF clinic will strike us as equally outrageous.
The whole concern comes down as to whether or not a microscopic ball of cells smaller than the head of a pin warrants the same rights and respect as an adult or a child who may die because we fail to use this technology.
The greatest question for lawmakers, ethicists, and the rest of us is what happens when embryonic cloning is taken to its biological conclusion. Growing a cloned human embryo in the lab beyond a few cells is proving difficult, but growing one in the womb could be much easier. Scientists are learning